Apparently, for a healthy outlook, it's the radio and not the television, because you can bring the radio everywhere you go. It's more difficult to do that with the telly. Even if you're watching on a small screen, you're not going to be able to get on with what you're doing. So radio in your ear, go wherever you like, get plenty of exercise, because experts at Harvard University are saying that watching television leads to degeneration of the body. Let me speak to Dr. Johnny Bloomfield about this, who is so into us being active. Johnny, I made my living out of working on the telly, so I don't want to be too hard on my colleagues here, but if we're sitting in front of screens, we're not doing ourselves any favours.
Oh, well, Frank, with age comes wisdom. You made the switch. You know, you're a good man for the radio, and you're right what you were saying there. I think we have to be careful with how much time we're spending in front of the TV, and perhaps we should be listening a little bit more to the Frank Mitchell Show.
So what is it about sitting in front of screens that makes it such a negative outcome for this Harvard study?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's no surprise to anybody listening that television, the amount of time you spend watching television isn't great for your heart, because, you know, the more you sit stationary, the worse that is for your heart health, of course. But this latest study is now starting to link it to the brain as well, and that's maybe as a secondary consequence of being too sedentary. So not only is it bad for your heart, sitting still too much, it's not great for your brain too. And I think it's really funny. I think as human beings, we might have got this wrong, because one of the things we invest most in our homes are our sofas and our giant television screens. And obviously, with that investment, you want to get good use of them. So we tend to sit on our sofas, or comfortable sofas, and watch our giant screens. And on average, I'm finding a statistic around 3 hours on average in Northern Ireland households across the country. You
see, I would have expected that it would have been bad for your heart to watch television, bad for your muscles to be sitting there, just your joints, you know, you're just sitting. And so it's sedentary, and you're in a position that you're not burning any calories. But I would have also thought that watching the right type of television would have been good for your brain, whether it's comedy and you're laughing, whether it's documentaries and you're being, you know, informed, news and you're being brought up to date, debates, discussions, whatever your bag is on television, many and varied are the options, that would be good for brain development. So why is it bad for your brain?
Well, I agree with you in a number of factors there. I think the content you watch does have an important factor in our brain health. I think we can, and of course when we watch that as well, so the proximity to bedtime. So we want to try and use the maybe time in the evening to watch television to unwind, to kind of disengage from the busyness of the day, to help us to gain some stress relief and some escapism. And you're right, things like laughing is great if the television actually makes you to physically laugh at that out loud. But there was a really big study in 2018, the UK Biobank study, which followed 500,000 individuals in the UK. Their were ages between 37 and 73. And they tested them on all these different cognitive tests, like remembering to do something on your way home, remembering different routes that you took, problem-solving tasks, and doing mental arithmetic in your head. And across 5 years later, these participants were asked to repeat the same tests, and there was a linkage between more television time viewed by these individuals were linked with worse cognitive functioning across all those tests. And it was therefore viewed that viewing time with television was linked to a decline in cognitive function. And it doesn't necessarily prove a causation, but there is a correlation there.
How worried would you be as a doctor in relation to the development of young people? And You know, when I was young, you were outside kicking a ball against a wall, you were running up fields, you were doing farm work, you were getting loads of exercise. A lot of children today are sitting in front of a screen, they're on some form of PlayStation or Xbox, they're not getting exercise, they're playing sport on a screen. How worrying is that?
I think it's hugely concerning, and I think, as parents ourselves, we're very, very conscious and careful about the amount of screen time that our two young children receive. But it's not only the content, it's also like the light and the lack of natural light, which then will play havoc with their body clocks, which may then not have a knock-on effect with their appetite at meal times and their ability to go to bed and go to sleep and wake up at regular times. So important for their overall health. So we're very careful and strategic about how much screen time and when they get it and for how long at a time. What the research has shown us about TV is that if we're watching more than 4 hours, then particularly in these older adults who have more time to watch more TV, they were 24% more likely to develop dementia. Now, if I think of that average statistic, if Northern households are averaging 3 hours, that means that some households are a lot more and some are a lot less. So we have to be careful, particularly in our older generation, that we're not wasting our time watching too much television, because that could be accelerating our risk factors for likes of dementia. If we were to do something more interactive using our brains, like interacting with a computer, not just using it as a different screen to watch something else, but actually to interact with the screen, then that actually reduces the likelihood of developing dementia by 15%. So quite significant numbers.
Yeah, there's so many elements to screen time, and indeed it's relevant right across the age spectrum. Some very important points, Johnny. Thank you, Dr. Johnny Bloomfield from johnnybloomfield.com. Trying to make us more active, trying to get us to, I suppose, use the gifts we have in a more productive way. But I really do feel that like 13, 14-year-olds who are sitting playing on screens as opposed to kicking a ball or skipping with a rope or doing some running or, canoeing or whatever it happens to be that is your bag, if you're not doing it, your teenage years are going to pass you by, and you will have missed out on some of the best years of your life. And if we're older, and I'm talking to myself here, less screen time, more radio time. This is the U105 phone-in.